Spokane listens when business talks. Welcome to Business Talks, the region's only local business talk show with your host, Ryan McNeice. Business Talks is brought to you by our friends at STCU and Well Dressed Walrus. Now, let's get down to business with Business Talks.
Welcome to Business Talks. I'm Ryan McNeice, and we're here in the studio with Tyler Dickerhoof. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ryan.
And we could go on and on about the titles, but in general, Tyler and Kelley Dickerhoof is kind of the base of the entrepreneurial spirit. Yourself and your wife have many different endeavors going on, as they say, many irons in the fire. One kind of overranging corporation, Brixton Enterprises, but encompasses many of the different things you're doing.
Yes.
You're one of those guys that's fun to chat with because you are full of immense energy. I don't think there's a day that I talk to you that you're not thinking about this project or that project or multiple projects, or can I do this or do that, or can I do more? It's impressive.
Well, thank you. My word for the year last year was focus, and I got that from reading Gary Keller's The One Thing. So that's something that I've learned to kind of try to do less and less of, but I appreciate you saying that. And I think one of the things that's just hit me is that makes me relatable to others, is that I do have a wild and different past. I grew up on a dairy farm in Ohio. And I feel for those guys that are cold there today.
No kidding.
Because they're still out there doing work. Went to school in New York, moved to California, had a job as a dairy nutritionist, started my own business then, being a dairy nutritionist. I spent a couple years trading commodities here for a company, and then started a gym.
I'm going to back you up just a little bit, because when you talk about being in the dairy business, talk to us about that expertise and the type of educational background. I mean, that isn't your daily conversation. So you were in the dairy business. I mean, so
especially in this part of the country.
Right. Yeah, maybe more normal in the Midwest.
Midwest, yeah. So, like I said, grew up on a dairy farm. My dad started as a ag ed teacher. He grew up on a dairy farm as well, decided he wanted to start milking cows because he thought cows were going to be easier to work with than school administration.
That's possibly true.
I think some days it was, other days it wasn't. In the midst of that, he found an opportunity to get into being a nutritionist. And so I watched that. I followed that. I can remember when I was 12 years old, my dad sitting down with me using computer program, much like what we would assume Excel to be today, balancing diets for our cows. So that was my first interest. And, like I said, I was 12, went to a nutrition conference with him when I was 17 at Cornell University in upstate New York. And that kind of identified that was an opportunity there. I ended up going to Cornell University. My first semester, I'm in a class, and it was bio for majors. And so here I am, just a kid that kind of skated through biology, enjoyed science, thought I was going to be a veterinarian, all these kids that were pre-med, and I quickly decided that wasn't for me. And I was fortunate. I had a great advisor who said, hey, you know what? You can make just as much money as veterinarians and not spend any amount of schooling beyond that. So it's like, all right, well, I can do this.
That sounds like a good deal.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me.
Right.
So I knew about the industry, knew about being a nutritionist. At that point, kind of starting from a young age, nutrition, just the science of it, always I loved. I loved because it makes sense. In animals, it's very cause and effect. You can do a lot of research. And I can remember my senior year, I think, I go to my professor. It's like, hey, I'm really interested in human nutrition. I'd worked at the fitness center in college. It was just a job I got, first introduced to fitness. And so I said, hey, I want to go take a human nutrition course. And he goes, no, don't waste your time. You won't be able to get in. And at the same point, what you're learning in animal nutrition is far advanced than human nutrition.
Yeah, actually, that's what fascinates me is at 12 years old, you were already doing these meal plans, if you will, for an industry-type setting.
Yeah.
And then you have somebody that's a mentor, if you will,
Yeah.
telling you, don't bother, you're so far ahead of that game in animal nutrition.
And that's something I didn't understand. And, my current industry is, health and wellness business, network marketing company, which is, been able to partner with an amazing company that's got great products. And I love it because it's whey-based. They have dairy-free options, but I saw that. And when I looked at the first formulas, I was used to looking at formulations. I could look at a formula and tell you, no, that company's just trying to, drive their profits, or they want to make sure that you get, good results. I will say this right now.
You knew what was going into the equation of the product.
Yeah, because when me formulating diets for cows, that was a big part of it. Why I say animal nutrition is advanced is it's all dollars and figures. Results and, dollars. And so when you're balancing a diet and you're like, I need this to be as low cost as possible, but maximum revenue,
possible upside.
Your amount of research, the amount of information you gain, we don't do that. I mean, when's the last time your doctor said, hey, Ryan, I'm going to tell you what to eat, but it's going to be the lowest cost, the highest result?
Right.
We just don't do that.
Spam.
Well, yeah.
Right.
I mean, if you like that,
yeah.
you are going to Hawaii next week.
Right,
so,
that's true.
Get yourself
it's
a
like the
spam
national
sandwich.
bird.
Yeah. And so that's my background, and that's how I look at human nutrition. And I've had the ability the last 8 years as we've been involved with our company to get to know a lot of leading research scientists. And, spent one day, we were golfing in North Carolina, and I said, hey, all right, this is how I would balance a diet for a cow. I would balance it for amino acids. I would balance it for fat fractions. I would balance it based upon different carbohydrates. And he goes, we haven't even thought about that stuff for humans. And this is the leading researcher. And so it just really kind of was like,
the light bulb had to be going off to a certain extent.
Yeah, it does. But I have to, in what I do every day, I have to dumb it down. And I think that's where my unique past and history and all these different industries, I grew up on a farm. I knew just as much how to turn a wrench as I did how to, feed a bottle to a calf to do whatever. That's what farming is. And so, yeah, I've done those. And so that's how my brain thinks, but I can get technical because I like it.
But wouldn't you agree, in many of the business endeavors that you've been in, from an entrepreneurial spirit, there is a certain amount of wrench turning, if you will, as well as the science of the respective trade that you're in. So whether it's in nutrition or accounting or what have you, when you own and operate your own business, you got to turn some wrenches, but you got to know what you're doing. And I would say that's what you're combining.
Yeah, and I think that's been by virtue of just I didn't know any different. This last year, Kelly and I got to spend a lot of time with a now friend, mentor, John Maxwell. So John C. Maxwell, leadership author.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things that I learned from John, reading his books, but also seeing him in person, is he's the most personable guy in the world. He's everyone's friend. He has got the biggest heart, and yet he's kind of a Mr. Magoo.
Really?
But that's all by direction. I mean, he knows very adverse in sports, it knows a lot of things, but yet he realized, and he taught me this, he goes, there's no value being every utensil in the kitchen drawer, but there's value being the sharpest knife. So figure out if that means you're the fork, be the absolute best fork you can be in what your talents are. If you are a knife, if you're a spoon, be the best that. And so I really had to take a look back. And when I mentioned the book Focus, Gary Keller, that was me focusing.
That's a good point in terms of trying to do too much all at once.
Yeah, and I think from an entrepreneurial journey, you got to start that way. You got to do everything.
Pure necessity, you have to do that.
Yeah, it's like, well, you don't have any other options, and that's part of the learning process. So that way you can help people that you bring into your organization know what they're doing, but you have to quickly understand what's the only thing I can do. It's Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule.
Right.
And those are all things that I've learned, and that's been a big fight for me.
I would agree.
Over the last year.
Because we can read it, we can talk about it, we can have John Maxwell tell us that, these leaders of industry, but delegation is hard.
Oh, it is, and it's probably in leadership, I think, the biggest area where a lot of people fail because either, I'm not going to delegate it because they're not going to do as good as me. But that comes back to, are you willing to teach them?
Yeah.
And we have to be willing to teach. And a lot of entrepreneurs are, I'd read another book, and I can't remember the name of it. I think it was Bob Berg wrote it. And ultimately, it was about do what only you can do. And he talks about this furniture store, and the guy loves building furniture, but then he grew this business. He's got to be the CEO, and he's like, I hate this. I don't want to do this.
Right. I just want to go back to building furniture.
And so we have this ideology, entrepreneurship is that we have to be the head of the organization, when sometimes you need to hire that person because that's what is best for your organization. You do what only you're good at.
Or flipping it. You are the head of the organization, but at the same time, you can only make so many chairs in one day.
Totally.
With the analogy of the furniture maker.
Yeah.
But again, it comes back to, as you said, understanding what you're good at. And there is only so far you can grow a respective entity if you aren't willing to teach, delegate, and hand over a certain amount of that control.
That goes to another one of John's, so I'm kind of a walking billboard for John Maxwell, just because he's been so valuable to me. A year and a half ago, we're talking. I don't know if I'd read any of this, but I knew who John was, read his quotes, and now I've immersed myself in it and spending time with him. And what you talk about, there's the law of the lid. You can only grow to how much you grow.
Absolutely.
And that's the biggest barrier for entrepreneurs. It's not the ability of their business to supply products. It's not their ability to have innovative anything. It is how much can you grow so your organization can grow.
Yep.
And what's exciting is, we talk about our network marketing business, and I believe the nutrition products for everyone. I think that everyone has the opportunity to be healthy, perform at their best. But I don't think the business is for everyone. Because network marketing in and of itself, there's people that have shaded it a different way that way. My belief in it, my nutrition business, is a referral business. How did I get clients? I treated them exceptionally well, got them results, and they helped me get other clients.
Exponentially grew.
My wife's hair business, same thing. Well, that's the adage that we take to our network marketing business: is we're going to love on people, we're going to help them, we're going to serve them, and grow from there.
And help them individually grow, which obviously then exponentially grows.
And that's where I think the biggest catalyst that we have to provide is, I love the fact that there's a couple, really exciting people that are doing great things. One of our great friends, former employees, Karina Tripon, Ginger Rooted Growth Coaching here in Spokane, used to work with us. And I think she's learned as much what not to do and what to do from us. But I love to see her going and serving people and using maybe that time of watching us, or what our company, allowed her to understand and learn, and going and do it in a massive way. Still uses the nutrition products. It's a part of their life. There's another lady who is my daughter's dance teacher, owns the Dance Center of Spokane, Sherry Davis, loves had transformed her body. I mean, this is a lady that was, almost wheelchair bound, just such bad shape. Now she's trying to do her next level, ballet, because she's improved her health so much.
That does have to be satisfying on several levels, though.
Oh.
What's been in your head since 12 years old, and what you thought you could, that trajectory of how you could help people, and it's tangible.
And what I see there is the principles of how Kelley and I have learned to treat people, to grow a business, to, specialize where you can, to empower people. And, Sherry attributes what her business has grown and kind of turned the corner is not only personal health, but applying those principles to treating people.
Makes a big difference.
So when you ask about the different entities we're in, it's just kind of, interest at times or position at times, our commercial real estate, to our cows, to my personal passion. But what we're doing now is, really trying to help people grow in their business, whatever their passion is. And for some people, that is having a, health and wellness business. And it's awesome. It's serving people, helping people get healthier. Other people, it's like, my health is holding me back so I can go do what I want to do.
Well, the dance studio is case in point.
Totally.
She obviously had an interest and a passion in the dance and dance industry, but needed that bridge in terms of her overall health and wellness.
Yeah. So when you ask me, Ryan, it's like, what are you doing today? Dude, that's where I'm finding, ways to serve people more in regards to, in this community, helping the entrepreneurs, helping the executives of, Spokane get healthy, but also look at saying, hey, how can they grow their impact? Whether that's their own family by getting healthy, whether that is, at their workplace, whether that is, some other, vision or dream that they've had that they never thought was possible. Dude, that's what excites me.
Well, and I think where you've been a perfect example of is, while you are helping others on their path to success, which obviously has been a positive impact to you and to them, you've come up with these other endeavors because you're going down that road, and here, the good old analogy, another door opens. Yeah. Let's take a short break and come right back talking to Tyler Dickerhoof, Tyler and Kelley Dickerhoof, Brixton Enterprises. Thank you.
They say it takes a community to raise a family. It also takes one to build a business. I came to Spokane 12 years ago as a Whitworth student, and I planned to leave after graduation. But the more I got to know this community, the more I wanted to become a part of it. My husband and I have built our business in Spokane, and now we're raising our family here too. We operate a consulting company that provides creative business development strategies. Our approach is holistic and dependent on intentional connections and relationships. And no one understands connections and relationships better than GSI. They direct momentum towards investments in our community, provide resources that help business leaders connect, and they're dedicated and passionate about making Spokane great. GSI gives me the confidence to build my business here because they believe every organization, even a small one like mine, adds big value to our community. With GSI's help, Spokane will be a place my son will want to build his career too. I'm Eva Marquette, owner of Freshview. We're creating something greater with Greater Spokane Incorporated.
Hi, this is Kurt Stockwell with Well Dressed Walrus. We are a local website design and development company here in Spokane. What we do is build beautiful, usable websites for local businesses. A website needs to be beautiful, it needs to be usable for your users, your customers, and yourself. Contact us anytime. We'd love to talk with you about your online marketing.
What? You haven't been to the library lately? Stop in today and see that the library is more than books. Spokane County Library District facilities feature on-site technology, including Wi-Fi, computers, and printers, as well as free use of meeting rooms. The Library District offers events and programs for all ages, from story times to career development and employer classes to Social Security workshops. Our staff is well trained and happy to help. Find out more about your library at scld.org.
Welcome back to the studio. Ryan McNeice, Business Talks. We're here with Tyler Dickerhoof. Thank you.
Yeah.
As we were in our first portion of our segment, we were talking about, I'm going to use the word passion. You have a significant amount of passion for all the endeavor.
I hear that.
I bet you do. And because you kind of exude a certain amount of intensity is not the right word, but a certain amount of endless energy, which is a good thing. But you also indicated when we were first chatting that you've tried to really focus that energy down to very specific items that you feel like you can push forward and potentially delegate other issues that you can raise people up that can do those aspects of the endeavor. A piece of every business that a lot of entrepreneurs don't want to talk about is failure. And we all have quote after quote that you really can't accomplish anything if you don't fail. And it sounds so cheesy, but if you aren't willing to fail, then you're not probably pushing far enough. But I'd imagine you have a certain amount of challenges or hurdles that you've overcome that when looking back probably have turned into some positives. Give us some examples of that.
You know, one of the things that people have asked me, failures, and I could recognize them, but to me, that a lot of times
well, you
it's
haven't
not
failed, but no, I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, but it's something I don't think about it that way. And, you know, I talk about another book, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. And it's like to stop and think about a failure. Well, I guess that was a failure because a lot of times I see the after. But they're wild failures. You know, when I first moved to Spokane, my nutrition business, dairy nutrition business, was dwindling. I won't lie to you. 08, 09, when the economy was tough, it was tough in agriculture. I didn't want to be doing it. Right. I had a former coworker call my current boss and say, hey, you know, I'm not sure you want to hire Tyler. He's kind of dying on the vine. He's failing. And it's like that motivation. It's like, no, that's why I was here.
Right.
Because I knew I had value, had something to add, and I just had to go with it. And so I look back and yeah, my nutrition business, I did it, learned a lot. If I go back in what I've learned about not the nuts and bolts of business, but the relationship part of it that I've improved and, you know, been taught so well, completely different. So
had you not had that experience, though, I think as you're describing, you literally would not be able to do the next step.
Totally.
And that's why all the cliches, gosh, when you look back in the rearview mirror and you say, oh, I actually needed that.
Totally.
That was a pain in the rear to go through such and such, but
Absolutely.
I had to have it.
Well, it's like the day my nutrition business that, you know, go to a client and he fired me, and that was 25% of my income. Well, that motivated me
You're not
to
going
change.
to forget that.
No, I mean, but that drove me on, and it drove me on to realize that, hey, when you think you're just fine, no, it's going downhill south. One of the things that we've done, we started a gym, had training ground. I still get messages from people that they miss it. It was a great opportunity. It was a passion of ours, but it wasn't a business that Kelley and I looked at running every day. And, that brought on a partnership which, kind of had different views. That's why we own a building on the north side, and so excited that there's a gym thriving in it and serving people. A lot of our equipment that we own, training ground, has now, been supplanted and now is owned by Black Goat CrossFit out in Liberty Lake. And I know that, they've done a phenomenal job. Salem has really served people. So I look at our failures. I look at, the situations we had and how people have grown from that and, taken that experience and, made something more of it. So it's hard for me sometimes to look at those failures and be like, oh yeah, it sucked. It was a tough time of life, but it's had new life. And, that's where I've seen the opportunity to grow. We invested a lot of money into our network marketing business last year to innovate. We didn't receive anything back on it. I mean, it was a 6-figure investment that, we didn't get anything, but we learned a lot.
Well, I was going to say, the good old MBA word, right, is ROI. What's the ROI on this? Everybody always asks, what's the ROI? Well, sometimes you can't put your finger right on it at the time. 6 figures, you can look at that and say, we've spent these actual resources, but sometimes it takes time to flesh out and look back and say, oh, wait a minute. A big part of that intangible ROI was potentially some of these learning experiences.
Yeah, and I think that's where you have to look back and evaluate those experiences. If you put your head in the hole and say, hey, I just want to forget about it, I want to make this disappear, you're not going to be any better. You're going to make the same mistakes. And so I look back at those experiences to say, hey, that's made us what it is. That's where we've realized what we're good at. I've realized that I'm great at, certain attributes. Like I mentioned earlier, really finding out what utensil in the drawer I am and really diving into that. I know I sent you an email earlier this week about looking at some business opportunities to kind of utilize that stuff, and I'm still trying to figure that out. I want to serve more people. I've had the luxury of puzzle. Yeah, and it's ultimately where I'm at now is what do I want to be known for? What do I want my legacy to be? And that's something I've learned from John Maxwell, and that's what drives me is I want to be able to help people accomplish what they never thought they could.
I find that interesting that you said that, though, because I think that is, as we go through our 30s and into our 40s, I mean, I think there's a certain amount of, you do start asking yourself that question. So I am interested in that from you, because somebody as motivated as you are, finding out, as you said, what utensil or how can I make a difference, legacy, if you will, becomes more important, or at least more thoughtful.
Yeah, well, and I think today it's even, we can have the conversation about health and wellness today that 25 years ago would have never showed up on anyone's docket. Right. Because we now understand, we have our baby boomer or, right generation of my parents that are like, hey, I just want to feel better. And now I look at it as like, I don't want to feel as bad as they did when they were in their 40s. Right. And so I look at that to say, how can I be in the best health? Gets back to what I said earlier. If you're not healthy, you can't do anything. Right. There's no guy that's sitting in ICU because he had a, quadruple bypass that is, massively changing the world and doing it the best possible way. He may be trying to stay alive, and that could lead on to something else. And so if we take care of our body, because it's the only one we have, then we can do things. And then we can support our family. Then we can support those in the community around us. So it all starts there as a foundation. But beyond that, it's how to help people instead of climb the ladder. And this I'm going to attribute it to John because it's his. Instead of trying to climb the ladder, help people get up the ladder. Be a ladder builder for people rather than climb the ladder. And that's what excites me.
It's just changing the focus a bit.
Totally.
Rather than where are we trying to get to, and just, this never-ending lack of focus, if you will, just maybe scrambling versus some concentrated build the ladder.
So when you ask, and I think back about the 12-year-old me who was wildly didn't know that and just thought of the nuts and bolts of nutrition, and even think of my career, my early mid-20s going to 30, the things I didn't realize is that, hey, you can have all the technical knowledge, but yet if you don't know how to work with people, if you don't know how to help people accomplish their best, you aren't getting anywhere.
Right.
And so if I, to speak to any other entrepreneurs, any other business people, and they're, at a place in life, what I've learned and be around people and had great education, it's like I can only go as far as the people around me. I can help them get to where they want to go. And that's a different management style.
It is absolutely a different management style.
And it's something, though, that I think when you really kind of press into, you can see that the rewards are so much more beneficial than, whatever thing you can put up on your wall.
Well, and there's so much writing along that concept that you just mentioned in terms of some of the smartest guys and women in the room can only go so far by being brilliant. And it's not taking away from that respective talent, but rather what you can accomplish, as you've indicated, is limited, because smartest person in the room needs a team to, as you said, take that lid off.
Totally.
Where, in our closing comments, where do you want to see yourself in a couple of years? It's 10,000-foot view, a little bit of a big question.
It's a big question, especially when I look at the whirlwind where we've been the last 5 years of,
exactly.
Starting businesses, closing businesses, evolving, pivoting. I think one of the things that we're always willing to do, Kelley and I, is pivot, which is exciting. I see myself being able to really help the entrepreneurial business community of Spokane. I look at it as I've come here 15 years ago. You asked me on a map, I couldn't have found this place, but I love it. And it's where our family is. And I know that there's great people here that are willing to grow. And so I see myself serving here. We've had the opportunity to have a national, international stage. And I don't know what that's going to look like. I know that we've been given the opportunities we have for a reason. And God has blessed us and such. And I know it's my responsibility to, continue to press into that. So I see serving people as so much fun. I love coaching from a sports point of view, soccer point of view. I see a bigger opportunity now. And that's what I'm really trying to find is what value do I have from my experiences that can help people accomplish what they didn't think they could. And
that's exciting. What I'd love to hear from you, though, and a lot of people just won't do this, you've taken the reins. You're willing to hold on. And, we could use this analogy and that analogy, but as you described with your businesses, yes, you may have closed this business or that, but truly out of that respective business that you said you closed, or you said generically it was a failure, you've already described very tangible items that came from it, either other businesses for other people that you've assisted with. Hopefully you have an opportunity here locally or nationally to do some more just straight up motivational speaking. I think that energy is palpable, and I think you just got to keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate that, man. And so that's the stuff I'm focusing on today. Here it is, the end of January, and I won't lie, I feel guilty. I don't have my goals written out for the year, but it's been thinking a lot about this. Is, we've had the benefit to serve a lot of people through our network marketing business, do it in a different way. To kind of, use everyday business principles and apply it to network marketing where that hasn't maybe been the case for a lot of people.
Right.
And looking at that, if you're out to serve people, if you're out to help them get to where they want to go, the rest doesn't matter. And I think that's been our focus, and I'm constantly looking for ways to, pour value into people because it's invigorating to me, but it's also, I get to learn too.
Well,
and
you're one of the few that I believe you do what you say. A lot of people don't do that, quite frankly. You're talking about these principles you're putting into effect. You're doing it. Thank you for joining us, Tyler. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Ryan.
See you next time.
Business Talks is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is solely responsible for its content. Ask a question, recommend a guest, and hear this program again online anytime at SpokaneTalksOnline.com. Business Talks is brought to you by our friends at STCU and Well Dressed Walrus. Business Talks wishes you good business and a good day.